Today's September 29th. The 2024 Pirates season is over. For the first time in this rebuild, the Pirates did not increase their wins this year. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's up? Bro, this is always a tough time of year for me.
I'm with you, man.
It is what it is. The Pirates didn't win. It is what it is. The Pirates season comes to an end. The only reason I say it is what it is because they're coming back next year. I mean, it's not like we're Oakland.
Oh.
Too soon?
No, you're good.
But it's like, this is what I do, right? This is just how it goes most years of my adult life. -3, right? Playoff season. Who do I root for? Who's my team? Who am I, who do I think's going to win? Who do I want to win? All that kind of stuff. And I usually defaults to Atlanta, obviously, just because of the wife, but
got to keep it in-house there.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes I like to see something different, and secretively in the back of my head, I'm rooting for somebody else. But yeah.
Well, and it's the idea that like every year the Pirates aren't in it.
Yeah. That's the theme.
Yeah. I mentioned in the onset, first time in this rebuild that the Pirates did not increase their wins from the last year to the new year. And that's again today. And I got to tell you, man, if they would have come up with a 77th win, first off, I'd have been upset because I'd have been like, you snuck that in. You know what I mean? Like, You can't sneak that in at the end and then think, well, they still got better. Like, they didn't, right?
We swept the Yankees.
Yeah, it was an upsetting season. And I don't want to sit here and pretend that what this team, if they did get to 77, that what they've done was enough to be like, no, okay, this was another stepping stone year. I just don't believe it was. I got a friend who, said, oh, they'll be under the 73.5 wins that they needed. Like, he was like, there's 73 wins. And I'm over here saying, what an upsetting season. If I would have thought 73, I'd have been like, all right, hey, we did all right. But we didn't. We called for better.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm 2 wins off, just to, not to bury the lead here. I'm 2 wins off of what I thought. Okay?
You tried not to smile there.
However, that's what I thought. I expected better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, from what I was looking at, from the whole thing, I thought they wouldn't reach their goal. And I would say their goal was literally 82 wins. 81 wins. I know what they said, right? I know what they said. I'm not worried about that. What I'm saying is, in the blueprint of a rebuild like this is the year that they should have been around 500. Period. And they failed. And so now you've got a lot more work to do before you hit that 2025, which is, and I will say it now, the season is over. Every regular season game, I understand there's still postseason. The off season hasn't started yet, but the season is over for the Pirates. The rebuild is now officially over, Jake. The rebuild is over now. There are no more excuses moving forward.
Which will be interesting. It's going to be super interesting. And we both use it. We both say it. This is, the rebuild, the rebuild, the rebuild. We can't say that anymore. So
no, it's over.
It should be an interesting podcast moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Jay. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. I want you to finish that thought.
We tend to defend the rebuild process pretty heavy on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And excuses come to an end as soon as the postseason ends. Yeah, in my opinion.
I think one of the biggest things is there was a lot of people this year who would just, like, it became like a phrase to just say year 5. And that's fine, right? Because there are a lot of people who were saying they should have been competing at this point. But like, they could have been, but that's not the blueprint. And that's what we've been spelling out. And according to the blueprint, you missed the mark. You should have been closer to 500. You should have been, you can't, if you would have swept this and got within 3 wins of 80, like, you can't just make that up in the last 3 days against the team who's not really trying. I would give you Saturday, right? I'd give you Saturday. But once Cleveland lost, okay, so you had the party day. They had the punt game against Jared Jones. Jared Jones did not give them a break with a different lineup, right? And then the next game was like, hey, we should probably take care of our own business. And they didn't, but then Cleveland lost. And then you get the same lineup the next day where it's like, we're not going to do this. And Judge like, it's raining, I'm not going to play either. And then they don't actually come, because those lineups can still win.
Yeah.
They're still, they're still there. But you missed the mark here. You should have been closer to 500 for a lot longer. And, that's it. Ron's asking, are you going to do pods during the offseason? 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not going to announce anything. Like, I'm not here to say I have a plan right now. But what our plan has been in previous years is cutting back to once a week. I don't know if that's going to be the plan this year. Maybe for a couple reasons, but we don't need to share them right now. I don't know if that's going to be the plan. We'll see. But we will definitely be on here. So Cheryl's starting it off hot. We've got a couple of comments here. Pit City What's in here. Ron's in here. Cheryl's now in here. We've already had some Shelton conversation going in here. And if Shelty's being fired, this is Cheryl, when do you think that would happen? I actually have a piece in our notes before it was obviously a rain delay that I wrote the other day that has a question mark and says, anyone get fired? So, no, it didn't happen. And I thought about it. Now, if this game would have happened earlier today and would have ended, I think there's like a possibility that something comes out. But I would probably seem to think, and you can tell me what you think here, but I'd seem to think they'd wait till they get back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I honestly could see this being not immediate. I could see this because like Shelty said in the post game, he's like, they asked him about staff changes and that. And he's like, well, I'm sure we'll discuss that. It's not going to be anything I'm going to speak on right now. When we sit down with Ben and we have a conversation, I think in my head, I'm thinking they'll sit down and have that conversation. Whenever that conversation happens, if Sherrington and Shelton don't have the answers lining up, that's when they let him go. Because I still think there's a possibility. Don't lynch me because I don't want it, but I think there's a possibility he's still our manager next year.
Anything's possible. I will also say that I don't know that Shelton and Sherrington get an opportunity to have that conversation because we could go the polar opposite and say Sherrington ain't even going to be there.
Never know.
You don't. And we're going to be here to ride it all out too. I was checking Twitter real quick just to see if there was anything on Skip Schumacher and whether he's coming back to the Marlins.
He gone.
Is he gone?
He gone.
They already said it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's.
He gone.
So that was news today, right? So that was already a decision that was made.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could happen. It could happen
mutually
tonight.
parted ways.
Oh, well, of course they did. Here's how that goes. Hey, Skip, man, we're not bringing you back. You can't fire me. I quit. All right, fine. We'll put it out this way. I mean, I you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's funny.
Bucko Mike's in here now. Sherrington and Shelton extended. Well, they're both already been extended, I guess. So, yeah, who knows how long, because it's all, Ron says either by winter meetings or not at all for Shelton. Haynes goes for sure. Yeah, I think it'll be before then. I think they have essentially, like, you got to understand that they'll want to move on a new manager quickly. And the Reds are going to be looking. The Marlins are going to be looking. And then, rumors of some other ones. I think Rocco Baldelli's probably going to be fine in Minnesota. I don't think they'll make a move. If the Yankees get knocked out in the first round, it's a possibility the Yankees are looking for a manager. You know what I'm saying? So there's some different teams around the league who also could be looking for managers. And if that's the case, you might want to move early.
Yeah.
And this is also true. Bucko Mike says Haynes is fall guy. I think no matter what, Haynes is gone.
Yeah.
I don't think he can survive this. I think that's the fall guy, like you're saying. But I also think that, Shelton should have been a 500 team or better, and he missed the mark as well. And I think that, that's a big thing. I think that the clubhouse needs a facelift. They need a different look in there. You've heard of players doing better in a change of scenery. You can change the scenery of that room.
Sure.
Rearrange your room, change your curtains, paint your walls, do something to make it look different, to spark a little bit of life in a situation. And listen, I know the Yankees are number 1 seed in the AL. I also know that the Yankees organization and the Yankees fan base, they don't care about that. If you get knocked out in the first round, he's coming off a season where he was, 82-80? You know what I'm saying?
Like yeah.
So there's already talks about that. So I don't know. Anyway. A couple things to get into. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about the series in New York as if it mattered for anything, but I'll explain a little bit there. We'll talk about the record. We'll talk about some of the things that maybe we said. Shortstop is our position today to look at. And so we're just going to get through some things. Let's go ahead and get started. Keep firing away there, and then we'll check the comments here. But we're going to try to move a little bit quickly to make sure that we can get through this today. I know that it's the last one, but we're not going anywhere, so we don't have to cram everything into this show. We've got, we're going to keep going here. Where do you want to start with this, Jake? I mean, you want to go in reverse? Let's go with the craziest thing right out of the gate that I think is here and gone. We can talk about it and we can go away. The whole IKF stuff today, we just want to address it. I'll say this. We'll say it quick. No, I'll read through it, right? He spoke about it after the game. He didn't get his 4 plate appearances. He had a bonus coming, something that we never knew about 2 weeks ago, most fans. And now all of a sudden we act like we're professionals on it. But essentially 4 plate appearances away from another bonus. And he said that last night the lineup came out. He wasn't in it. He didn't think anything of it. And then today when they got there, it seemed that they were let known that he was 4 play appearances away. And so they said, oh crap. Hey, IKF, you can play if you want, because we were just told that this is a thing. And he said, it's raining. I just came off the knee injury. I think I'm good. Peggy hadn't played at Yankee Stadium yet, right? Is that the case? Yeah, he hadn't played at Yankee Stadium yet, and he specifically called him out and said, no, let's leave him in there. And he said, I don't deserve it. I would say I agree with that. And before we say, well, wait a minute, he didn't have a terrible year, right? But the thing is that bonus, since you're not allowed to build actual real performance bonuses with statistics, like, you know what I mean? The way that I guess it goes, I don't really know. Whatever it is, he essentially said, I was injured. I didn't earn my plate appearances. If I stay healthy, I hit those marks. Those are what those marks were actually there for. And so I respect it. I respect it from the IKF situation. If I'm the organization and I find out about this, I'm saying, give the man his money. I said the same thing about Rowdy, right? Listen, you got to do what you got to do, which in this case, they gave him an option to not do what they got to, like they didn't have to do that. They could have absolutely gave him his plate appearances. And I think if Derek Shelton knows about that number, he probably puts him in the lineup. I would assume Derek Shelton should never know about those numbers. I know he probably does. They probably do get let known about that. But in my opinion, Derek Shelton should have no idea what anybody's contract incentives are. He should make decisions based on baseball, not on contracts. But either way, it was probably brought to his attention, and he said, we certainly can't have this again.
Right.
If that was me, I'd be like, please, will you play? Because we don't want this again. But either way, here's what I'll say. The last thing, his comments, they sound genuine. He seemed like he would have passed a lie detector test for me. I saw nothing that made me think anything else. But are you buying or are you selling? And I'll say out the gate, I'm buying. I'm buying this whole thing.
Yeah, I'm buying. I think we had a conversation a little bit before, and I'm not going to get all into that. Like you said, Derek Shelton shouldn't know. He shouldn't be aware of incentives, because at the end of the day, his job is to win baseball games, not worry about who gets what. Yeah.
He probably does, though. Maybe not this, like, you know what I mean? In this situation, he was let known when the lineup came out. They were like, hey, whoa, by the way, might want to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
So even though he didn't know it was coming, he was certainly let known in this scenario.
I think this one definitely is a lot less damaging on the outlook, on, outsiders looking in.
Yeah.
Way less damaging, because they did end up giving him they found out they gave him the option. He turned it down, and he says, I didn't deserve it.
If he wanted the option
early, I'd have got it.
Right. If he wanted to play, regardless of who he's taking a spot, if he wanted that money, he would have said, yeah, I'll play. That's it. Mm-hmm. It stops there. If you really are, you can't complain about it if you had an option and you didn't take it. Also,
I think this is
bad look, all that stuff, the Rowdy stuff, totally agree. Here's where I'll say, Ron says, crazy is saving $450K and tainting your image even further with free agents. No, $200K is the only thing that tainted anything. But also, I will say this, and this is the last thing we'll talk about on the Rowdy or the IKF stuff. If you're a free agent that is signing a contract, a prove-it 1-year deal, then you may have in your contract an incentive to reach a certain amount of plate appearances, which essentially means you are good enough to stay on the team through X amount of plate appearances, right? That means that that's your contract because of the contract that you're signing, because of the precedents that you've set by your performance in the last year or two, right? So the point is those are the types of players who get these types of incentives into their contract. If you're a good player, I'm not building an incentive into your contract. I'm paying you for, in Rowdy's case, he got $3.2 million. None of that $3.2 million was taken away from Rowdy Tellez. All of it was paid out to him. The extra money on top of that was not guaranteed to him, he didn't get. They took no money from Rowdy. They took no money from IKF. He made every penny that he agreed to. If you're a good player, you don't sign with those types of incentives. You just sign for 3.4. Right. Or more. Obviously, you're going to sign for more, but you see what I'm saying? Like, the problem is that the only reason I don't agree with this is bad for free agents is because if you're a good player, a good free agent that the Pirates should be signing, None of this ever matters because you don't have those incentives. Sure, you might have like those MVP incentives and all those stuffs that are baked into all the contracts.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Pirates shouldn't be messing around with a prove-it deal this offseason. So none of this should even come into play. And if I am a free agent, I'll say this last thing and I'll let you.
No, you're good.
If I am a free agent and you want to sign me to 3.2 with a $200,000 incentive, I'm going to say, pay me 3.4 and I'll sign. That's all they care about because you get it guaranteed instead of with an incentive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the good player part is, were you good enough is the part that I'm gonna elaborate on. Were you healthy enough?
In IKF situation,
in most situations, like if you sign a guy, he's a good player, but he's injured a lot. Maybe you do still throw in a plate appearance or something like that. It's not, just so, you work on staying healthy. If you're healthy, we'll give you this extra money. Like, I don't know. I think it's worth mentioning that health has a factor in there too. Not just did you play well.
Yeah, and I think it probably depends on the player, right? Mm-hmm. If you have an injury history, you're going to have incentives based on how long you're healthy. And I think for those big players, like the actual good players who have had an injury history, like maybe a Carlos Correa where something came up on his thing, they might say, hey, if you're healthy and you're available, it's like a huge thing. You know what I mean? But you're never going to, you're not going to let him go before that. It's literally is he available? And all they do there is, for the injury guys, they say, if you're available, not if you hit this many plate appearances, but like, if you're on the bench and available to hit, you get your incentive because that means you're healthy. So every day that you're on the IL, it doesn't count towards that number, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Ron asked if Shelton has incentives on wins, and if so, why do managers not have the contract? That's a good question. I don't think I know that. It probably has something to do with the MLBPA. The MLBPA probably builds some of this stuff, or I don't actually really know. Maybe some managers do. I would just say I don't have the answer to that. So that's where I'll leave that. Yeah. Anyway, not a big deal, man. No, I just don't think it's a big deal. I think they gave him the shot. If he wanted the money, he'd have taken it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'll leave that one. All right, man, just not going quickly here. But that point needed to be made about the free agents. I don't think it's that bad for free agents because I don't think they should be messing around with those kind of free agents in the first place. All right. Yankee series, we won it. That's big deal. Paul Skenes, two innings. I think I've got Paul Skenes went 2 innings. It was really good. Put a bow on his season. Jake, I got to say, unbelievable. Could you have imagined a season any better than what we just saw from Paul Skenes?
No. It's nobody could have. I mean, you saw what Jared Jones was doing at the beginning of the year. Then you're like, we're going to call Paul Skenes up, but let's pump the brake. Let's not expect him to do the same stuff it was better.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Without like, I mean, the strikeout numbers that Jared Jones was putting up at the very beginning were it was absurd. But across the season, like Skenes blew that out of the water.
It was unbelievable.
Right? Like it was incredible.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. What we've seen is historic. It's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. I believe he does get Rookie of the Year. And I don't believe that Jackson Merrill doesn't deserve it. He does. Probably Chorio does. That's the way the game is right now. There's going to be multiple guys who deserve it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to look back in history. I'm going to tell you this right now, Jake. Bobby Witt Jr. will not win MVP this year.
No.
And Bobby Witt Jr. is a 9+ win player.
Yeah. Andrew
McCutchen never had 9 wins, and he has an MVP. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never was a 9-win, and I'm talking about the WAR statistic.
Right.
Never was a 9-win player. I'm here to say, and I've said it before on here, the Kansas City Royals are the Pittsburgh Pirates with Bobby Witt Jr. on their team. If you look at the numbers across the board and what they do in their rotation and in their lineup, it looks very similar to the statistics that you see on the Pittsburgh Pirates, except for this one guy that's just like gets entered in, and it's Bobby Witt Jr., 9+ win player, unbelievable, makes a huge difference. Now they don't have a pitcher like Skenes,
right?
But they've got a solid rotation. Actually, after this last week of Keller and Falter kind of blowing up, their numbers across the board might actually look better than ours.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So like when you look at it that way, but it is, he's that good, and it's, you know, Judge is going to win it.
Yeah.
So I'll say that to say, sure, Jackson Merrill's been great, man, but this is historic.
Yeah.
It really is. Pit City What says Ruth, Skenes, and everyone else. And it's funny because, like, we say those things sometimes tongue in cheek, but we're kind of like, you're cautious because you're like, this is, I mean, Ruth, Skenes, and everyone else seems bonkers, right? Until you then go like, I don't know if I want to make this joke because I might be serious. Like, it's that historic. You know what I'm saying? This is Shohei Ohtani category, right? I mean, obviously you don't have both sides, all that kind of stuff, but I'm talking about the actual history of it, right? Yeah. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but if Ohtani ever had a season to say he should just hit and not pitch, it was this year. He needs to stop pitching. It's just going to take games away from himself. He will not stay healthy. And he's going to take games out of the lineup by pitching because he always takes a day off afterwards, right?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead and hit 50 bombs and steal 50 bases again. Nobody's ever done it. Certainly nobody's ever done it twice. Anyway, we're not going down that road. Don't go down that road.
That's a rabbit
trail. But yeah, Ron says Skenes gets Rookie of the Year and mentions for Cy Young. He'll get Cy Young votes.
Yeah.
He'll get Cy Young votes. It will go to Chris Sale, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And Zach Wheeler will get second. But he probably won't get any first place votes.
Sure.
He will get second or third place votes. For sure. He's on that list.
Yeah.
So it's wild. Yeah, no. I don't know, man. What's that?
No. Skenes is an ace. You should expect this. No.
Expect what he's doing?
The numbers he put up, no. You should not expect that from a rookie.
Right.
You know, Skenes is an ace. I get it. You should expect him to be great. I get it. What he did as a rookie, you should not expect from anyone. You should be blown away by it. Because if I expect that, I'm just like, yeah, that's what he should have done. I'm not that excited about it. But like, this is exciting. This is historic. This is like, wow. And if you're expecting it, you won't have that wow fact, that wow moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. You should enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of an expectations for Paul Skenes to continue to be elite. I think he is that good. I don't think this is just a what a great season he had. I don't think that's it. I think this guy is currently, like, it's not a had a great season. I think it is, this dude is the real deal. He is a dude. And like Bucko Mike said, he's an ace. But ace doesn't have to be as good as what he is. You can be an ace without being like this. 30 guys. Well, I don't even agree with that. I was going to say 30 guys are an ace. I don't agree with that. 30 guys are a number one.
Yeah.
But not 30 guys are an ace. There's, you know what I mean? But no, this guy's an ace. I don't know if you're going to expect a 196. I don't, you know what I mean? But I think those strikeout numbers, Jake, I think those are true. I think he keeps that up.
100%. But in my this is my opinion. You get that title ace. You get, and you earn that title ace. I expect 250 ERA, or maybe better. I think 250. I would expect you not to drop below like 2.7 as 100% ace status.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to see a 196.
Yeah. And I could see him
That's
doing
all
that
I'm
again.
saying.
I could see him doing that again. Like, he's that good.
Yeah.
I will say this. Bucko Mike says Pirates have had aces like Zach Fluke and Paula Maholm. That's not true because they had number ones named those guys, Zach Duke and Paul Maholm. They had number ones named that. But to me, your ace doesn't just mean he's your number one. You might not have an ace. And the Pirates haven't had an ace in a long time.
Right.
Garrett Cole, you could put Liriano the way he was for a season or two in that kind of category, possibly, maybe. I don't really know even. But, and then you're going back to like Drabick, you know what I mean? Maybe Schmidt. I don't really know. I don't remember the exact numbers, but like ace to me is like, yeah, he's an ace. And yes, there are teams with two aces. We've seen those teams. And I think that that's possible because I don't think for me, it's not as easy as just saying he's number one in my rotation. So he's our ace. I think you call him that, but for me, I don't. And this is it right here. Skenes is a legit ace stud. And also 100%. Cole was the last ace we had. That's what I'm saying. I agree with both of those 100%. These other number ones, they're not aces that we've had. It's Cole's the last one we've had. Now it's Skenes. Keller's a good pitcher. He was a number one for who we had there. But according to the rankings and what he's putting up, he's a low 2, high 3. That's what he is. That's the facts of what he is, right? According to the rest of the league, if you're in the top 60, you're a number 2, and he's in the top 60. So he's a low 2, but also if he falls a little bit, he's still a high 3. So anyway, I like this. Sherrod said Skenes is an ace pitcher, but he is an ace guy all around. So it's there. Ron says Clemens, Johnson, Kershaw, etc. are the company Skenes is in if he's healthy. Totally there, man. This guy was unbelievable. Pit City What says scary thing that Skenes has been getting better as the season goes on. Unbelievable.
And it's just his ability to not have his best stuff and still dominate is what's been so incredible. And that's what you
crazy.
Just don't see from a rookie.
Yeah.
That's why a starting pitcher, actually, in both leagues, will probably win Rookie of the Year this year. For what, the 7th time in history? I think is what they were saying.
Who's the American League?
The Yankees, the Luis Hill.
We knocked him out of that.
I don't know. I still think he gets it.
We have 4 homers off of him. We knocked him out of that. No, I don't know. Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Jared Jones also finished off his season, and he did pretty well, I would say. Looked pretty good through this one. He ended his season at a 4.14, very ticked off about coming off the mound there. If it was my call, he finishes that inning. I think he could have finished that inning, but you just walked Soto. Yeah, Jazz up, but like I think that as locked in as he was, I'm at least giving him a shot. I don't know though. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
It's a tough one. But if he gets out of that, he's in control of that. And I know that like these numbers, and I've said that, and I was putting it out there. Here's what he needs to get below a 4. And I had a couple people say, why does that even matter? I'm telling you right now, it matters to him. A number 3 or a number 4 at the beginning of your ERA is a big difference. Even if it's 399 to 401, it looks like it's not. And if you're digging into the stats, it's not. Right?
Right.
But to that player, that's a big deal. Starting that ERA, that's why like through all this, like Skenes, if he gives up 2 runs, he doesn't lock in that under a 2 ERA.
Right.
If he gives up 1 run, he would have had to go 5 innings to keep it under 1 or to under 2. And I'm telling you, That's important. So, yeah, I just think all these individual stats at the end of the year are important. Bailey Falter, I think this is another one that's important because we saw Bailey Falter. You even said it a couple weeks ago. You're in. And he finishes the season with a 4.43. And you're like, okay, so he had a chance to be a lot better than that. But throughout of 162, throughout the whole thing, this is what he is.
Yeah, and let me kind of straighten that up for you. I'm all in on him being our 5. I think this is a commendable 5 number at the end of the season, But when he's on, I enjoy watching him pitch.
Yeah.
If there's he's not the electric company, right? He's
the
opposite.
If there's another lefty out there on the free agent market and you could make your starting rotation better and dangle Bailey Falter as part of a deal, I'm doing it.
Sure.
I'll add somebody that might be either a veteran or better than this.
Josh, I'll do that with my 4 or 5 guy.
Yeah.
At any time. You know what I mean? Like if you can somehow make it better and you can dangle the X, 4 or 5 spot in the rotation to get them, I'm in.
Yeah.
I almost don't care who that 4 or 5 guy is. But if we come into next year and Falter's our 5, I'm okay.
Yep. All right, hey, Friday night, Brian Reynolds homered from both sides of the plate. Let's go.
Love it.
Let's go.
Friday.
I love it. So that's my favorite thing. We've been over this. If you've been around for a while, it's my absolute favorite thing. And so I just love it. O'Neal Cruz ended the season with an 0 for 21 streak. Some walks in there, but that's not, you don't want to end the season that way.
Right.
So that's tough. But
especially striking out to end the season.
Yeah, if he just gets a hit in that last at bat, you just wonder if he ticks that right up to 260 or whatever, and instead it will tick down. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of that there. Like I said, all those round numbers, man, they care about it. A couple weeks from now, they'll say like, "Nah, I don't care that much. I know what I'm capable of." But as of right now, they care about it. So, all right, let's go. Where are we at here on our time? Okay, we're doing okay. Let's do shortstop. I think we can kind of get through this kind of quickly. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Pirates' final record and just spill in on that a little bit. And then maybe talk a little bit about the rest of the standings and all that kind of stuff, just for some fun. Who we got at shortstop, Jake?
Currently, we got kiner-falefa. We got Nick Gonzalez. We got Peggy showed up a little bit there at the end. I think that's your options that are on the roster right now. I don't think Triolo's a shortstop. Yeah,
so it was the last week or the week before. I was on the Bucko Banner podcast. If you guys aren't paying attention to Bucko Banner, check them out. Pretty cool guys. BANTR, no E in that. Check them out. Really cool guys. We've liked hanging out with them and getting to know them a little bit. But we were kind of talking about it, and I said, what they've done is they've built a roster full of depth, and they've done a pretty good job at that. They feel Nick York, Billy Cook, Leover Peguero, all these guys, IKF, Jared Triolo, even if you're thinking about depth, you're looking around and you're saying, I actually like the depth of this team. Right? We're starting to build a situation where we're a couple guys deep. When we're talking about shortstop, we just don't have a starter. You feel good about depth, but your depth is only as good as the guy who starts in that position. So yes, you have fallout plans.
Yep.
But I want a starter at short.
Yeah, and that's what we need. I was telling you what we had.
Oh no,
I'm in the same boat.
Right.
We need a shortstop.
Yeah.
So our options are decent, but none of them are starting shortstops.
Right, and I don't think that Nick York necessarily is an option there. I see Hayes, Bucko Mike Hayes. Listen, I actually would have agreed with you maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. With the injuries, I just can't.
I think I literally said that a couple years ago.
with the injuries,
Sliding
yeah.
him over. No,
Oh,
sliding him
okay.
over to short.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Cheryl says she likes Nick Gonzalez at second. I do too. I think that if he's capable, though, if it plays out that way and he's capable of playing shortstop and getting Nick York at second, if he's playing well and you know what I'm saying, and he's earning his way into the lineup as well, I think I could deal with it a little bit. Like you said, he's an option. What I saw from him is a little bit, better. So there's a little bit there that I could say, yeah, I could see Gonzalez being a guy. If Peguero comes in, I think he's going to last the offseason maybe because a pretty good showing here. But he's a guy that if he doesn't come into spring training and earn it or win it like a spot, I don't know. So I think there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And I wish this team would be aggressive in saying, but if we could find a shortstop that is a guy, and I'm not asking you to go like, I guess Willy Adames is probably the top shortstop going out. I'm not even asking you to go get Willy Adames.
Yeah.
But maybe one or two guys under him before we get to who we already have. If you could get your hands on one of those guys, or if you can do something with a trade somewhere, then I could see you making a move that way. But the free agents
we talked about this at the game, right? When we were at the game, we talked about the trade for Willy Adames.
Yeah.
Like
two
they
relievers.
Didn't give up hardly anything.
No. I mean, the two relievers are really good, but it's two relief pitchers.
If we can figure something like that out, that'd be great.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm at. It's going to be a trade. If it's going to be a free agent, it's not going to be Willy Adames.
Right.
If it's Ha-Sung Kim from San Diego, that would be, I think I would make that move if I could. If I could be aggressive enough to get Ha-Sung Kim, who, by the way, can't throw a ball right now because he needs labrum surgery. But if he's going to be good, and I know I can get a, average, MLB average to above average hitter and play a good defense at shortstop, then yes, I would welcome Ha-Sung Kim. I think that would be a good move. Outside of him, I feel like you're just getting like, yeah, but he's basically IKF. Yeah, but he's basically this like group that we already have here. So then it goes to the trades. If you can make a trade, fine. If not, this is what we're going to end up with next year. And then, on this show, you're going to hear us say that's not good enough.
Right.
That's my opinion. So that's shortstop. Let's see. Next week we will talk, or next show we will talk. I thought it was right there, man. Oh, there it is. Second base. So it's going to sound pretty similar, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to sound pretty similar. All right, Jake, what do we got here? Let's talk wins. Let's talk Pirates record.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same as it was last year. I've already made that said. It's a failure. You called for 84 and 78, and you had comments like, and we always like to do this, and this isn't to take shots at each other, but this is just like, this just says some of maybe the things that we said. Jake likes to say the crazy things before the season. He likes to say, I'm going to throw this out there. And it's cool. He's being a fan. He's optimistic. He's all about it. Henry Davis is going to be a dude to reckon with for a while. Still could be. Didn't happen. Here's one of the quotes. Power through our lineup. Should have been. Should have been power through our lineup. Wasn't.
Could have been.
Could have been. And also, I could see the Padres getting there before us, though, because you did have us as a wild card team.
Yeah.
Just to say here, Bucko Mike, this is exactly what I will not accept. He says Jose Iglesias to play short. That's the kind of move you just can't make. So anyway, 84 and 78, the floor's yours. Say what you want about that.
I was wrong. I think it was, a mixed bag of optimism, and our hitters were just stroking the ball in the spring. You did see a lot of power. I get fooled every year, it seems like, by the wind in Bradenton.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is what it is, and I'm glad I saved myself a little bit by saying I could see the Padres getting there before us.
You could see them. Yeah. We'll get to the Padres because we're going to talk a little bit about what we said. Okay, so I gave the ceiling at 88 wins, and I said, here's what I said. I said, their ceiling is 88 wins, and that's if everything goes right. And then I said, but everything already hasn't gone right, so they're not getting there. But I had their floor at 74. And, halfway through September, I thought, they're not even going to hit my floor. But I had them at 78 and 84, as I kind of said before. I will also say, just because this worked, I said that the Cubs would be around 86 wins. I had them winning the division. I said the Reds would be around 500 and in second place. I had us at 78 wins, and in third place, I hated the Cardinals and the Brewers. Right? So I had them around 76 wins, and I said that the division would be separated by 10 games. And, that's it. That's where we landed. The Pirates end up in absolute fifth place because the Reds won today. As of coming into this morning, the Pirates were in fourth place. And not if you look on MLB.com, because they put everything in alphabetical order once you have the same record, but we owned all the tiebreakers against the Reds. Baseball Reference would have put the Pirates in fourth place, just like they did in 2022 when they had the same record. If you go to MLB.com and go to 2022 standings, you'll see the Reds above the Pirates. But the Pirates were in fourth place because they do alphabetical order instead of looking at the tiebreaker. It's hilarious. But it gives people fuel to say they've been in last place for so many years. And it's, not true. Not that it matters. You still lost 100 games. You still stunk. Which is why I'm like, that doesn't matter, but it's still the truth. So, all right. Let's go ahead and talk about who made the postseason, Jake. And here's why we do this sometimes, guys, just to let you know, you got to look around, man. You got to look around at the year because, we did feel good about the Pirates this spring. But even feeling good about them, it's sure, but you also can feel good about the rest of the teams. But the NL Central is not strong. It never will be. It never has been. I mean, there's been some years when it's strong, but you're not on the coast. The Easts and the Wests are always going to be stronger unless the West is kind of crapping. But in National League, that doesn't really happen because of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So the East and the West are always going to be the stronger divisions, and the Central is going to be down, whether it's National League or American League. That's just the truth of it, right? And so when the Pirates are almost there, they kind of have a chance. Right? Everything went right for the Brewers this year. I don't think that the Brewers thought that the Brewers were going to win 93 games. So, and I also, in my defense, and this is why I was saying you could have had some kind of in my defense, but I think we already know your defense because we've been complaining about it for 3 months. But I also said that Milwaukee would trade off Adames, they would trade off Devin Williams, they would trade off not Yelich, but somebody else I had in mind, and I can't remember. And I just thought they've got a bunch of young guys that are going to have to come up and all ball out, and that's just not possible. And guess what? They all came up and they all balled out. They did this without Yelich. They did it without Devin Williams threw 20 and a third innings this year. You know what I mean? Everybody just stepped up and did their job. Losing Corbin Burns didn't hurt him at all. 93 wins. Wild. So they win the division. Just to let you know, we had, let me see here. I had Chicago, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Minnesota. I just said that. And then I said I would flip St. Louis and Cincinnati, which is actually good for me because St. Louis and Cincinnati, they would have been flipped, but the Brewers just would have been all the way up. So you had Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago, St. Louis, Milwaukee. This is a fun one. I like this one. I think Milwaukee is that bad. I think Milwaukee is the only team in the division that finishes under 500. Maybe St. Louis.
Need a fence cut out that I can just hide behind.
You didn't believe in San Diego. So you had Atlanta, Cincinnati, the Dodgers, and then your wild cards were Philly, Arizona, and Pittsburgh. Chances of Arizona making it, we both had Arizona in, are not good. I had Atlanta, Chicago, and the Dodgers. So we both missed on Atlanta, but they're probably going to be in the postseason anyway. We both had Philly as the number one wild card, and they actually won the division. So we're not far off there. I had San Diego and Arizona. It's San Diego, but it's probably going to be Atlanta and the Mets, or one of those two teams and the Diamondbacks. So, yeah, that's where we were at. Yep. In the AL, I had Baltimore. I did have the Yankees making the wild card, though. I had Minnesota, very wrong. And I had Houston, which ended up right. I had Texas and Toronto, though, in the wild card. So big miss there from the Royals Tigers. We'll talk about those in a minute. Not too bad. I had Cleveland in second, and I had KC in fourth. And I said, I don't believe in them, but I put them on here somehow. Jake had Baltimore with the Yankees making it in. You had Detroit winning it. That was a great, I mean, they got the, wild card, but it was a great look there. You had Texas winning the division, but you did have Houston making the postseason. You had Seattle. And you had Cleveland in third and also KC in fourth. All right, here's what I'm going to say. I'll make this quick. I talked about what I talked about with the Central. The White Sox were in the Central. They won 11 games against their division. The Twins were 12-1 against the White Sox. Kansas City was 12-1 against the White. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Teams usually play better against their division, right? Yeah. Detroit was 10-3, and that's because they lost the last 2 days to them. Literally lost 2 straight games to them. And Cleveland was 8-5. The White Sox actually played them well. Okay. I mean, those are the differences to put them literally into the postseason.
Yeah.
Because they got to play the White Sox. And here's a little bit of the proof. I think Cleveland's real, by the way. I think they're fine. I think that's a legit team. I think when they opened up the deal and said, no, we can hit home runs now because we got a jet stream, I think it worked wonders. I mean, they had a 39-homer guy, and everybody else was hitting home runs. This is a team who was 40 home runs less than the 29th best team last year. You know what I'm saying? So this was a big improvement. And they struck out more. Good on them. Strikeouts are okay if you're hitting more home runs. All right. Cleveland was 50-47 against good teams, against teams over 500. Detroit, 47-50. So losing record against good teams. Kansas City, 44-54 against winning teams. Minnesota, 39-59, and of course the White Sox, 22-90. But the point is even those playoff teams, there's 2 teams in the Central who are making it, and you're going to have somebody who is there. They're going to say, well, first off, Bucko Mike, Indians pen is good. Guardians pen is awesome, dude. I don't know about Indianapolis. I don't think it was that good. He's a Northern Ohio guy, so I know that made him a little cringe a little bit. But anyway, the thing is that when you have, there's 2 teams. You could say 3 teams from the Central made it. That must be the best division in baseball. Clearly, it's not. You had 1 team that could handle good teams.
Yeah. And
that team can handle good teams. And 50-47, in my opinion, is a little bit misleading. I think they're better than that. I think they were a little bit better at a certain point. But also, Detroit, have you seen their literally their September? Who they got to play in September? Like, there's no wonder they made a push. It was a bad, it was an easy schedule.
Yeah.
Anyway, they'll be out soon, I think. I actually think that the National League teams I like better here this year. And I think that a lot of times we find ourselves saying, man, the American League has a couple like real deal teams that I don't think National League teams can beat. You know what I mean? Outside of the Dodgers and what has been the Braves, which obviously have been very injured this year. So I don't know, man. I actually think the way the Brewers are clicking, I think they could make a run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ron says the Brewers fired Haynes and got hitter development that worked. Yeah, kind of. I think that's a big thing. I don't know if the Brewers do hitting development the same way the Pirates do, where the MLB hitting coach is the director of hitting for the whole organization. I thought that that's not normal, but maybe it is. And so maybe there's a lot to that. But definitely the Brewers hit better after Haynes. But I'm going to tell you that they also got better after Counsell. Well, They got the same. They won 93 last year too.
Right.
But they did it.
It didn't hurt them.
They did it without Burns, Yelich, and Devin Williams. Yelich played half a season. Williams pitched 20 innings, and Burns was traded. So they're better.
Yeah.
In a way. You know what I'm saying? In a way.
That's fair. Yeah.
So totally wild, man. Totally wild. I'm excited. So tomorrow there's a doubleheader, Braves and Mets, and we'll see. Right?
Mike, this one hurts, man. I'll be honest with you. Oh, it didn't work. There it goes. That chick I dated in high school is my wife, man.
Yeah, Jake's. That is true. That is true.
You can see how I fall for the spring stats.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually a good point. Yeah. That's funny.
It's really funny now that I think about it.
Now that you think about it, that's really funny. So, yeah, man, so I'm looking through some of the chat here. We're going to wrap this thing up, but I'm looking through some of the chat, but I just want to see if there's anything in here that we should put up here. Here's Launchpad says same record as last year, disappointing all around. 2025 is a make it or break it year for Ben Cherington and Shelton. Anything less than 83 wins, give them the boot. I actually am not convinced yet that they're going to get a chance to do that. I'm just still kind of holding into this. Like, I'm just not convinced yet that they're going to have a chance to show us what they can do. And maybe we'll talk about this as we move forward, or maybe we'll have to talk about it because they're going to make a move. But, man, if there is a new GM that comes in, I think they're intentional about saying this isn't a rebuild GM.
Right.
This guy's going to come in, and if they were going to spend $35 million this offseason, they'll spend $45 million. They're going to make sure that it's a statement. And I think he's going to go push for something to happen. And so I think that that's why we'd see this move sooner than later. If Cherington is not given another year, then it will be a GM that comes in and his intent will be aggression early.
Yeah. Win now.
It would be win now because it's going to have to come from, and this is where, as a fan, and as somebody who's been following this team or somebody who's listened to this podcast after the Pirates just won 76 games for the second straight year. So you guys are in, you guys are tuned in. If you're going to believe this or not is completely up to you. And I'm, like I said, I don't know that I'm believing this, but if this is going to happen, it's going to happen because of the ownership group being fed up with, and the president, Travis Williams, being fed up with the reputation that they have, because they've earned that reputation. And until they get tired of it, you believe what you want. It's up to a guy like Cherington to make the best of what he has. And that's it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying is if they make a move in a GM, that is a statement that says that they don't like that bad publicity of the Rowdy thing.
Yeah.
So if that happens, they should be making a move to a GM that will be aggressive. And Ron says here, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jake, not unhappy overall with Sherrington, coaching not so much. Here's why I'll agree with this 100%. Because Sherrington technically just finished his rebuild. Yeah. That's what we talked about at the onset of this show. He just finished the rebuild, which means he should get next year. Looking at it that way, he should get next year. Also, I'll say, now let me collect my thoughts here, because I got sidetracked there for a second in my head, and I didn't want to go that way, so I was like, stay on task, and I was like, crap, what's on task? What did I just say? Oh, Sherrington gets an extra year.
Sherrington gets yeah.
Yeah. Also, I'll say that his pitching development has been a success. Or at least, no. I don't even want to say that. We can't really say that yet. We can say that there are signs of success, but what we're seeing is we can see visible progress with a lot of names. And I'm going to leave Paul Skenes out of that because they didn't do a whole lot. Yeah. But Jared Jones is a win. Mitch Keller, despite me being so upset at his season, he's a win. He was developed under this organization or this regime. So was Luis Ortiz. I know that those are guys that were acquired before, but they got better recently. What they've done with Bailey Falter, which I would have expected to have a 17 ERA from what I saw, and it's a 4+, not a 5+, but a 4+. And you know what I'm saying? So when I look at that and I say, well, they've got several guys. What they did with Majinski, what they've done with Holderman when he came over in that trade, what they've done with even like Dennis Santana and those like Ryan Barucki last year and like those quick little things, right? So like pitching, I'm happy with what we see from Bubba, what we see from Thomas Harrington, what we see from Ashcraft, Mike Burrows, what we see from Kennedy, what we see from Solomito, what we see from what's the other, Hunter Barco. Like there's a lot of names and I'm missing some, but we're seeing a lot of names all of a sudden. You're like, crap, this is actually deep. And there's waves of them. And so I'm in, man. I really am with the pitching. So if they do bring in a new GM, hopefully he keeps the pitching in place. Maybe not Oscar Marin, maybe just to change the look. Maybe just move Oscar Marin into a director of pitching for the organization, but still get a major league pitching coach. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe do something like that if you want. But Ron says pitching is sharing. I'm talking all right. I'm doing fine. Sherrington's strength.
It's fine.
So yeah. The hitting though, on the other hand, not so much. The handling of Rowdy, how that went public and whatever else is, like I said before, every single team does it. It's literally standard operating procedure for major league teams to have a guy who says, this guy stinks right now and he's about to hit an incentive. Boop. You know what I'm saying? If the guy's good, they don't have any problem. They'll blow right through those things. Yeah. But when you got a negative WAR player, they're going to not want to add to that salary. And that's, it sucks. That's the way baseball is. The difference is two things. Pirates aren't winning and Pirates have a reputation. And when you have a reputation, things like that is coal on the fire. It's an easy way to pile on and you can't afford it. And so sometimes you have to make rash decisions. So Mike, American League Central teams that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of easy wins. They won 11 games, and that includes the last 2 days of the seasons against the Tigers, who already had it locked up. So, I mean, it's essentially 9 wins against their division, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. I just think that the AL Central, like, kudos to you for making it. You have to beat your division, and that's how you make it. But the White Sox kind of made it. They kind of made it easy on them. I looked at the records of every other team who's in last place, and I think the lowest win total was 18 wins from like the Rockies or the Marlins. 18 wins against their division. Every other team was over 20 wins against their division for the last place team. So like, even if you're bad, you usually play your division well.
Yeah.
Should. So, yeah, man. Sherrod said pitching is the hardest part to build up, so you need to focus on hitting. To be honest with you, I would always tell you that if you can develop pitching, then just keep developing pitching, because bats you can get.
Yeah.
You can get bats with pitching too. If you have so much of it that you can deal away, you can get bats. It's a lot harder to acquire arms, and arms are expensive, and arms get injured a lot more often.
Yeah,
so the more
arms are fragile.
Yeah, the more you have, the better you're going to be, and then you can get your offense. I mean, I'm talking Cleveland right now. There are year in and year out competing for that division. And I mean, for a long period of time, they couldn't find an outfielder who could hit his way out of a wet paper bag. And they still were winning because of that pitching. Like, they're doing something right there. And they are a small market team just like Pittsburgh. They're just about 10 years ahead with this pitching development thing. You know what I'm saying? But year in and year out, this team is in the mix, because when you're in a central division, you can be in the mix year in and year out, because that division is usually going to be down. I know St. Louis oftentimes makes it hard for the National League side of things when they are going well, but they're not right now.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Yeah, man.
And this is it. The Rays have contended for years on developing and trading pitching. That's the other thing. We talk about, how many times do we say when a new guy comes up, well, he'll be gone in 4 years anyway? And I just want to look people and say, like, yeah, absolutely they will be. And that's what you want. Get them really good and then trade them for like a handful of guys that might be able to hit. or maybe more arms. I don't know. But like, yeah, that's kind of the way that you do it. And so like, we got to stop complaining about like, well, they'll only be good if they can extend people. Not true. They're going to be good if they trade people. I hate to say, like, I'm a guy who likes to have a guy here for a long time, but like a guy, not all the guys.
Right.
So I think they should extend Skenes, by the way. They should buy 2 years of his free agency, and they should trade him before those 2 years. 100%. They can never, ever, ever let Paul Skenes go to free agency. They have to trade him. It is the Angels right now are kicking themselves for not trading Ohtani. You absolutely have to.
Yeah.
They could have redone their whole franchise with that trade, just like Washington did with Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to do it.
Yep.
Sherrod says Baltimore excelled in hitting but struggled with pitching. They did the same thing. They just went a different route. They said, we're going to hit so much that we can go acquire veteran pitching and roll with that. And it worked for them last year. This year, they actually went out and got a good arm, and they're actually worse off this year than they were last year. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is if you lean one way and just get really good at that, and if you're scoring a ton of runs, you can kind of make up for having, like, a decent rotation.
Yeah.
If I was the Reds, I'd be going all in on offense, because you could have great pitchers there. They're still going to give up home runs in that little league field they play in. You know what I'm saying? So, and they actually have some good pitchers right now who are avoiding giving up home runs, which is scary. So anyway, I didn't really mean to get into all that, right? This is what we do here. We go into rabbit holes. You good?
I'm good.
All right.
I think it's going to be interesting when the off season gets started, and I think the off season gets started as soon as there's if there's a change at the helm, the off season will start sooner.
Right, and I've called this, it's just saying, hey, the rebuild is over. I think my opening remarks that I meant to say, but I just wanted to let that breathe a little bit, was the rebuild is now over. The tense off season starts in a month. I believe it'll be tense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should go in hard, and the reason it'll be tense is because we'll all be saying, like last year we were saying, what are you doing? You should be doing more. But
Mhm.
this year, I think there's just way more on the line.
Yeah.
So we'll probably know soon if there are some moves. I did see in here, Cheryl asked, if there are firings, will you guys jump on and do an extra show? I don't know. Here's what I will say for right now. We're still planning on a Thursday night for Friday audio show this week. And I believe moving forward, we still plan on doing the Thursday stream. Sherrod actually just asked the same thing. We are still planning on doing the Thursday stream. We'll probably be a little more tight to 60 minutes on Sunday if we do this, right? If we continue to do this, because, it is, we're still taking another day. So the Thursday stream might be even shorter. We're figuring some things out. We want to try to get you guys as much as we can without, giving up too much of our time.
I'll throw this out there right now. This one here. Let's Gurry. What's the Gurry?
What's the hurry? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the hurry? Let's go ahead and do this. I don't know if you have anything to do, Josh, but we're going to close down the episode. We're going to hang out for 10, 15, 20 more minutes after it's over.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll keep chatting.
We'll keep chatting. So let's do a sign off, and then the audio will end here. And then we'll stick around on YouTube for a little bit extra. I think that's a good idea. All right, we'll talk to you Thursday. Let's go Bucks.
Yeah, let's go Bucks.
I'll pipe in the music and all that stuff later.
Cool.
All right, if you guys have anything else, we'll stick around a little bit longer. There's no more hurry, Ron. We just killed the hurry.
Yeah.
Let's stick around.
Yeah.
So what else you got here, Jake?
This one here, I'm going to go back to this.
Yeah.
Because, you shot it down real quick, right? I think the reason is Mike he had 340. I get it. It was 82 games. Backing up Lindor in New York. It's just not a guy I want to go to bat. He's 36 years old next year.
35.
He's 35 this year, right?
No, 34 and 268 days. So
yeah. So I don't know if I want to, get into a first term of a shortstop with a guy who's 35 years old. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to bring it up, though.
I mean, he did have a good year.
Yeah, he had a good year, 141 OPS plus, and that's 41% better than league average, right? So that would be
right.
That would be it. How defensively? I don't know. I mean, I think he's always kind of been regarded as a pretty good defender, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this season, looks like defensive runs saved were -1. For his career, it's -14. So, I mean, maybe not. But he's not making a lot of errors at short.
Right.
So he was a +3 defensive runs saved at third base, but a -1 at short. But you're playing there every day, you're going to get better. I guess in 2021 at shortstop, he was a -22 defensive runs saved. I don't know if I like that. And that's 119 games at shortstop for LA and Boston. So, you know what I'm saying? For a guy at 35, you're probably looking at like a 1-year deal. He did not play in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was injury or if there's some minor league numbers. If I show minors. Yeah, there's some minor league numbers, but not a whole lot. San Diego, 28 games. So not a whole lot going on in the minors there. Yeah, I mean, 340 average, 4 homers. It'd be a 1-year deal kind of a thing. I could see signing him to a 1-year deal, getting him to spring training, and then making a decision on him. But I just don't. If you go get Ha-Seong Kim, you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. And the stopgap thing, I think we're kind of done with stopgap guys. That's where I'm at.
Okay, so I hear that, and here's what I'll say to that. Like I don't necessarily agree with that in a way of I like having those long-term guys, obviously, but I also don't hate 1-year contracts to make your team better for this year. And I think that sometimes you don't want to avoid getting a guy because you don't want him long-term. I'll get if I think a guy can be good for me this year and not beyond that. I actually like the 1-year deal. It does kind of stink to do it every year at multiple positions, though. But if you have, the problem is we always talk about first base. If you don't have a guy coming, then a 1-year deal just means like, but we're going to have to sign another one next year. Right. Because there's nobody on the way. And you can kind of feel that about short. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't see anybody moving the needle. As far as shortstops go, we get these guys that we'll draft guys that are shortstops, but actually are better profiled as second or third.
Right. I don't know. That's interesting. Jose Iglesias is interesting if they can't get anywhere else. Look at this Sherrington and Iglesias connection. So you get a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if he's gonna be our hero.
Basically, I don't want to throw it in the garbage. That's not a.
No, you can't really throw anything in the garbage.
No.
So I'm seeing a lot about first base.
I think Reynolds is our first baseman next year.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
I think he wants to do it, and I think that's what it's going to end up being.
Yeah, so I'm going to start here with Ron. He says, biggest needs, hitting coach, first base, a pen arm for stability. I think they'll do 2 or 3 pen arms because I think they're easy to get. And I think they'll be aggressive to replace a guy like Chapman and then get another guy at least. At least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do like that, a pen arm for stability. I think it just needs to be 2 pen arms for stability. Plus, as much as I'm saying like, hey, I'm not worried about Bednar yet, but if he comes into next year and he's not good, you better have a backup. You've already learned that it might not be good. So
yeah,
I'm there. You know what I mean? But first base, I think, to me, a bigger need is shortstop and left field. And the reason I say that is because I think if you can get first base, if you start with left field and then you get a first baseman, then Reynolds goes to right and you've replaced the right field platoon. That is the big question mark of a lot of potential for BDLC and Jack Sawinski, but a lot of question marks too. And so if you can replace them, if you can get better than them at left and first, then you just put Reynolds in right. You know what I'm saying? If you start with left field, I think you can always get Reynolds in right or at first base. And I think it's a doable thing. Why will Reynolds move to first base? Because you acquired somebody to help the team in left, not because you just want to figure out first base. That's my thing. Because if you put Reynolds at first base and you put Billy Cook in left, you didn't do anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just leave Reynolds in left for that matter. Mm-hmm. You have to, the only reason he goes there is because you started with a left fielder and then your options at first base or right field, whatever one's inferior. And right now, your option at first would be probably Billy Cook and Connor Joe. And your options in right are Sawinski, BDLC, and anybody else who might want to, Billy Cook, anybody else who might want to take a stab at it. You know what I'm saying? And I like those options better than our options at first. So I move Reynolds to first and I let them fight for it. And if they don't work out, then in season, I'm making a trade for a right fielder too. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember that you can always give them a shot, but have a quick hook. Come June, if they're not making it happen, I'm trading for a right fielder if I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I mean, because you can also put Nick York in that. Well, you can see him. He's played a little outfield. So You can see a little bit of that too.
Second time
Yep.
Cheryl's asked this. Yeah, I mean, he had 20 home runs. I think he's coming back.
Yeah, I think he's coming back too. The thing is if Kutch wants to play, he'll be back, and I think Bob will make sure of it. So yeah, I agree. I do think Kutch comes back. I do think he's a DH. I do not think that the plan is for him to be DH every single day. I think they'll mix that around a little bit depending on the team that they get and depending on who's catching and who's hitting when they're catching. Depending on what you have with Brian Reynolds. If he's in the outfield, he's going to take some more DH reps. If he's at first base, maybe not so much. Maybe you mix it around a little bit. But yeah.
I think if he does make the move to first base, he won't DH. I
Right.
think when he gets his day off, he'll get his day off.
He'll get his day off.
He'll only get like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't want them.
But they'll rotate that DH on those days. And I think what you end up with McCutchen is you have to give him an opportunity to be you have to have him an opportunity to be healthy. This year, I think they gave him days off because he wasn't healthy. Where if he gets healthy, I think you give him days off next year to keep him healthy. So I look to see him, if he comes back next year, I look to see him be like a once or twice a series guy, but he will at least get a day off every series.
Yeah.
So I think that's there. I don't think that the Pirates ever had Iglesias.
No.
They had like Ronnie Cedeno. I'm trying to think of guys that kind of might have profiled like him, but not Iglesias.
Echeverria.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm trying to think of them guys we've had for like a minute.
Yeah, but like Echeverria was at least good defensively. Doesn't look like Iglesias is. Anyway, there's another one I was looking at here. So Pit City What says trades sure, but can we just be a normal team and have at least $100 million payroll? From everything I'm hearing, it sounds like that's kind of the target number next year. If you think about it, you've got, so Kutch will come back with the same contract basically, but you've got Chapman of $10 million coming off, Rowdy's $3 million coming off, Taylor's $4 million coming off, Grandal, what was he making? $6 million. His is coming off. Martin Perez is $8 million or whatever they were, in for coming off. Marco Gonzalez is $3 million that they were paying coming off. So you got a lot of those things that are coming off. But then you also have Keller goes up $10 million. Brian Reynolds goes up a little bit. Key Brian Hayes does not. He's staying at $7 million for a couple more years, which is very cheap, by the way. Oh, that's funny. Ron actually was thinking of Hecheverria. Perfect. So anyway, it's the idea that like, okay, so you can drop about $30 million that's just coming off. So you're going to play with, to get back to where you were, there's 30, which they'll get there. But then there's a potential for what we've been hearing was like another. And so that's like 30, you could say like 25 of it, you would be replacing that. So like you're probably somewhere around 60 to spend. And they were at 87 this year. So that drops and then goes back up. So you could see an increase of about 30 million. And I say about because you don't know how they replace it, how much they replace it with. And then it's going to be a top of 30 million. They'll be around 100 million, I think. Grandal was 2.5. Thanks, Bucko Mike. Also, John McDonald, that's awesome. I remember that. That's a good one. So anyway, I do see them around 100 million. And a lot of that is just because you're adding 10 million extra. Like Mitch Keller made 5 million this year. So, I mean, even for his performance, he was a bargain. You know what I mean? Even though I was upset at a 424 or 421, whatever right. It ended up being, that's a bargain for $5 million.
Yeah.
So, Mike says it's going to cost $100 million to essentially bring this team back. I don't think quite. but it would get close. Like I said, because it drops off, and then all it does is come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All it does is come back and maybe give you, like I said, you're going to get an extra $10 million for Keller. So that's, I guess that's right. Because if we're at 87 now, $10 million for Keller is 97.
Yeah.
So, when you look at that, they're going to be between 100 and 110 because of that increase. And then Brian Reynolds goes, let me actually look it up real quick, because his increase is a little bit too. Yeah, Bucko Mike says Pirates increase 15 million, and they're at 87 right now, right? So yeah, he says 85 to 100. He meant 100. But 85 to 190 would be awesome. I don't even know how you would spend that money without being ridiculous. Overpay for a lot there. So, let me take a look at this real quick. Because I got Brian Reynolds' future commitments here. And by the way, I'm just going to let you know right now, because we can and because we're here. I am currently opening up Ethan Houlihan's spreadsheet that talks about all this stuff. He's the man. And he's been getting a lot of really cool things heading his way because of things that weren't cool. And so, want to always shout out Ethan. We always shout out Ethan here anytime we bring up his numbers, right? And I know that Ethan listens to this because I get messages from Ethan when I say something stupid, and he likes to put me in line. And I got to tell you, Ethan, I love when you do that because we want to be right too. So just want to always echo that, right? I want to always echo that. Ethan was on our show before. Good dude. So we like him, and we really like the work that he does. Brian Reynolds goes up. He just goes up $2 million. So he goes from 10 to 12, essentially. The big jump is Keller, $5 million to $15 million. Key Brian Hayes stays the same. IKF stays the same. Chapman drops. That's 10.5. $5 million for Kutch probably stays the same. Michael A. Taylor's 4 is gone. Yeah, so you got a lot of those that are just gone. Beeks, we didn't pay for all that, so that's not really a contract, and he's gone anyway. Dennis Santana hits an ARB year, and he actually has 2 ARB years, so we got control of him. He made $1 million this year, so he'll be a little bit of an increase in arbitration. So, yeah, you start arbitration with... I'm trying to think. Minimum to ARB. Oviedo. Brian De La Cruz goes to arbitration this year. Joey Bart. Colin Holderman. Bailey Falter. So these guys are going to go from the league minimum to jumping up into making some arbitration numbers. So those ones are going to be natural increases, right? You're going to get a lot more than if they were making $800,000 this year. They're going to jump up to, $1 million or $2 million, depending on how. I mean, guys like Holderman, you could see, making a little bit more. Joey Bart, maybe even after that year. I don't know. Hard to tell. Brian De La Cruz has a 19 homer year and a 21 homer year back to back. He's probably going to make a little bit.
Yeah.
Which actually could be, depending on how much he's asking for, that could be where Brian De La Cruz comes into non-tender category. When you think of those ARB numbers, if he's like, no, I need $5 million, and they're like, crap, we don't want to pay him $5 million. That might be his non. But as far as giving him a chance, I think they'll give him a chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just from those kind of a thing, right? Just from those things, the big jump is Keller. Everybody else is very small, if anything. And then, you just stack your ARBs up, and that's what kind of gets you up there. Yeah, this team will be over 100 million. Or around 100 million, unless they've epically failed or traded Mitch Keller, right? That's the only way. You knock 15 million off by trading Mitch Keller, then I could see you falling to 95 to 97.
Yeah, and I don't think that would happen. I think if you traded Mitch Keller, you're going to replace that money.
Right, you're going to replace the money anyway by getting somebody else.
I think the whole reason, if you're going to trade Keller, the only reason you're trading Keller is so that you can have more money to spend.
I just closed out of that. Let's see. Let's check it out. Let's see Bucko Mike if he's got it here. Who'd you put in there? Key? Oh, it's up there. Key, IKF, Keller, and Reynolds. Yeah, dude. You're nailing it. Right there. 41,750 just for those 4 players. Nice job.
I don't see De La Cruz being a non-tender. I think they're either going to give him a chance or they're going to trade him. I don't think they're just going to let him go.
Yeah.
You can't just non-tender a bunch of people. Like that's not smart, organizationally smart. You got to try to get something for him.
Are you saying, Bucko Mike, that Bednar's a non?
Bednar's going to figure out how to not tip his pitches, and he's going to be an absolute stud next year.
His stuff was, his fastball was better this year than it has been. It literally, like, it was better. It had more ride. It had more velo. I'll say this, even without the tip, you know what I mean? Because you have to know the tip's coming. Even without the tip, if the curveball is not tunneling with the fastball, it's not as effective.
Yeah.
If he tunnels the pitches together, he's unhittable. He's a top 10, at least top 10. I'm going to give him that pad because of the struggle we saw this year, but he's a top 10 closer in the league.
Yeah.
I don't know how long he'll keep doing it. I don't know how long the back's going to hold up. I believe that. I believe this is a guy who probably isn't still closing games when he's 36.
Right.
Like, I believe that. But right now, I think he's fine. If he's not tipping pitches and he can get that curveball tunneling with the fastball, he's fine. If he comes into next year and he can't do those things, that's why I get a security blanket for him this year. But I'm still going into next year thinking positive. I am by far not letting him go. Yeah, and Bednar was off from the spring because he didn't hardly play in the spring, right? And so when he came back from that, whatever he was doing, maybe to try to keep from hurting his lat, then maybe that's what was causing the curveball to not tunnel right. I also think they rushed him back and they started putting him into games instead of giving him time. Anyway, instead of giving him time in the minors, they gave him time in the majors. Not a good idea. But at one point, let's not forget, at one point during this season, he had 19 straight saves. They weren't as pretty as normal, but he was able to get the job done because the stuff is so good. But what you're saying here, Bucko Mike, is that the fastball got rocked, but that's because they knew it was there because he wasn't tunneling the 2 pitches together. So you could see it. When you think it might be a curveball, you'll never catch up to that fastball with the ride he was putting on it. And I mean, you guys know, like, the ride, and I'm not a big pitcher guy, but the ride is basically every pitch you throw drops and a ride drops less. It makes it look like it's going up because you know what the thing is. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't even know, to be honest with you, Ron, you could be right. You could have been overcompensating for the lat. But I honestly believe that it all comes down to, are you tipping your pitch? Because they know when the fastball's coming if you're tipping your pitch. Period. Yeah. They knew. They knew when it was off speed versus fastball. That's it. So outside of that, if you're not tunneling the curveball with the fastball, you're not fooling anyone. So even if you didn't tip your pitch, I can see that curveball because of where it's coming. Maybe it's coming out of your hand late. Maybe it just doesn't look, it's not coming out the same way as the fastball's coming out.
Right.
And so if that's not happening, these hitters will eat you alive because they'll say, spitting on that, I'm not swinging at the curve. I know that's a chase pitch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it just doesn't matter. So it could be the lat strain. It really could have been. But if it was, the lat strain was causing his pitches to not tunnel, because I think that's the biggest thing for me. That was the biggest takeaway from that whole Trevor May thing, was when he was talking about the tunneling, that's what made the most sense, because that's what we know. You know what I'm saying? And then also, as he found out, as he was watching it, he's like, holy crap, he's tipping his pitches too. And then there were, 2 or 3 different types of tipping his pitches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, there was,
crazy. That was a crazy video.
Yeah, Ron says that's what he thinks it was. He thinks the tunneling was caused by the lat. If that's the case, I think that's probably, you know what I'm saying, that could be it, because that was the big thing. I just don't think that a guy who was elite, and don't say he wasn't, a guy who was elite, top 5, at least top 10, like I said, I'm not thinking about the top 5 right now, but at least top 10 closers in the league. 2-time All-Star. He's got a track record to say he's good. Colin Holderman, I don't know. He's got a track record to say he gets hurt. He was really good for a year. I don't know what we got this year. He was good for a while, but he was also hurt, and there was a little bit of I don't know. So there's a little bit of Colin Holderman. I'm kind of like, I don't know.
He looked filthy tonight.
Yeah. And then the same thing. Yeah. And then the same thing with Mlodzinski. He had the really good rookie season, came back this year. He dealt with some injury, but then he was also really good. But I can't trust that. I need to get reinforcements in case. For David Bednar, I still think you should put a pad in there, like a Chapman. Just like Chapman. If he's not good, you go to Chapman. But I just think that I'm optimistic still about Bednar. I think he gets it figured out. You get your mechanics, all those things, whether it's, like I said, it's probably mechanics. It probably could be from the lat, like Ron's saying, overcompensating, all those good things. And I think Bednar's fine. And his velo went up, his ride went up, his spin went up. His stuff is still really, really good. So that's what makes me think that it's not a physical ability thing.
Yeah.
So,
Mike, if we bring Beeks back, I'm going to be mad.
They're not bringing Beeks back. He
says bring back McCutchen, Chapman, and Beeks. It's going to be $20 million.
They're not bringing Beeks back.
I don't know. I don't think they bring Chapman back.
If they do, I don't think he costs the same.
No, I
think they went and overpaid him to get him because they missed out on so many guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, they offered more than what Imanaga got. They offered maybe more than what Minaya got.
Yeah.
Both those guys wanted to be in big markets. That's why they went there. And I think we're pretty confident that Imanaga took less to go to Chicago because he fell in love with Chicago. Yeah. Minaya, I don't think anybody really had any numbers, but
I would love to see him bring Chapman back. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. Ron says, "Man, I'm really impressed by Chapman throwing 104 at 37. No doubt.
Yeah, 105.
Yeah, 172. 172.
He had 172?
Yeah, he had 175, actually. 0.3. So it's 175 miles per hour. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, Mike, this is it, man. This is what you're saying here. Holderman was a terrible reliever in July and August. There's just a level of Holderman that I'm saying, like, I'm not all in yet. I'm all in on the stuff. But he's got to be able to do it extra. You know what I'm saying? He's got to be able to do it for a little bit for me to I love the stuff. The dude feels like when he comes into a big moment, he's all in for it. He doesn't cave under pressure or anything like that. Like he's a dog. But he definitely struggled at times. He definitely struggled at times this season. And so did Mlodzinski.
Yeah.
But Mlodzinski's looked strong as of late. Hitting 98 pretty good.
Mlodzinski's young. Holderman's not.
Right. That's true too. And Holderman's just, it's injuries that's taken him long, and that's why it makes you there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ron, listen, there's another thing. There's literally another thing. Now, some of that might even be on Sherrington. He's the one that makes the call to say, like, listen, we don't have anybody else. We got enough guys on the IL. We can't afford to put Bednar on the IL, or we got nobody. So, like, I could see, like, because my thing about Bednar early in the season, he shouldn't even been on the roster. He should have been. Yeah. He should have been making rehab starts, not even at the major league level. And I think that's maybe where that compensation came from too. Is like, hey, if I got to pitch against these guys, I got to change something. You know what I mean? So I could see that. So that's another Sherrington thing, not just a Shelton thing. But yeah, I mean listen, I'm going to say this too. Most managers haven't figured out how to manage a bullpen. So we're going to be mad at whoever we got right now doing it, but literally most managers haven't figured it out.
Somebody posted something on, I don't remember if it was Twitter or Facebook or what it was. They listed the Pirates coaching staff, and I didn't realize, I don't know why I didn't think about it. I didn't realize there's a game day planner.
Yeah.
That dude's the one that needs to go. Hey, get him and Andy Haynes out of here, and you know, we're going to be doing some cooking.
Yeah, I don't think that it's just on him though. That's the thing, is all this stuff's a group effort.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, so like Shelton's weighing in on that, Sherrington's weighing in on that, and then whether it's your hitting or your pitching coach, depending on what you're talking about, they're in on it. The catchers are in on it. We know, like, we've heard how involved Grandal is in game plan and how he's like, what do you call it? When you're really smart at something.
You're really smart at it.
Yeah, there's a word, but anyway, like he's really good at like game planning for another team, with knowing your pitcher's arsenal and the hitter's weaknesses and all that stuff. Maybe guru is what I thought it was a different word than that, but he's got a reputation of that. So, you know, I'll let that stand, that he's...
Let him be a coach, but let's not have him play anymore.
Sure, but it also does help that, you know, that he's behind the plate changing right then and there. Like, we know he's good at that. So I'll let him have his things he's good at. And really, Jake...
No, yeah. I'm
you talk down the stretch.
Take that away from him.
You talk down the stretch. This guy was not as bad as we think. He ended with a 94 OPS plus. He is barely under league average. Positive WAR. It's only a 0.6, but you talk about using him as a backup, like he's a good backup at this point. I can't believe it, but almost league average. And that's from, like, he was bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm, like I said, not making another move trying to bring him back. He's only getting older.
Right.
But, I mean, his OPS plus, league OPS plus, not his splits, league OPS plus in September was 196. 96% better than league average. His June was 16. 16. 84% worse than league average. And then he had a 105 in July, league average hitter, a little bit better. 167 in August, 196 in September. So, like, in the end, like, dude ended pretty good. He's been a good catcher. Now, here's what I'll say. He played less.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He played in 18 and 19 games in May and June, 52 and a 16 OPS plus, right? In July, August, September, he did 11, 13, 11. When you play guys like that less, you get better production. It's a Connor Joe thing, right?
Yeah.
You can only play Connor Joe every day for so long. And then all of a sudden, he's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, Mike. Mike's in here. Michael 412 Double Play Podcast. Make sure you check them out too. Best catcher in the MLB in the second half of the season. Now, listen, I know Michael. He's saying this based off of statistics, not opinion. Is that right? Like, he's not saying, like, I love this guy. But the point is he was very good. Bucko Mike says he was hurt early on. That, I mean, literally, that could play too. I don't know, man. I think you play him less as a backup, And this guy can actually be a serviceable backup catcher again next year. I don't know if that's here because I think you need to try to give your opportunities to either Davis or Endy, whoever shows up. I certainly don't want either of those two guys. I don't want to get in our heads that those guys, or Joey Bart, might as well say this. We're going to talk about catchers at some point, but on the audio, we're hanging out here. None of those guys should be talked about for first base until they can hit. And what Joey Bart did this year, he's going to have to do it again before I believe that he's hitting. And he's also not, he's Rowdy Tellez. More consistency, but the home run numbers at first base are 13, right? Yeah. So like, I'm not sitting here saying like he's the answer at first base. Not until he hits 25 to 30 to 40 home runs is he an answer at first base. Give me 25. This is why I say like Brian Reynolds, he's a 24 home runs every single year, except for the year he had 27. For the last 4 years, he's had at least 24 homers. Put him at first base every day, he could get to 30. You know what I mean? He could get to 30. So I want more out of my first baseman as far as the home run numbers go. And I know that positional things don't matter, but I'm looking at our holes, and that's what we need. We don't just want a good hitting catcher, move him away from catcher. No, let's let that thing ride out a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If Grandal's still there, if he's still available in the spring, and I see Henry show up and I'm not in love, I might throw a 1-year deal at him again. And then whenever I'm done with him, I'll trade him. If Henry's hitting and he's forcing his way in there, man. See, this is it right here, Mike. Bart is DHing 3 days a week. I don't think he's a good enough hitter to be doing that.
Right. I think we need to have another guy that's better DHing.
I mean, yeah. I think they'll use that DH to keep guys fresh and to keep guys, you know what I'm saying? If they've got a couple options, if Nick York's on the roster, for instance, and we don't know that it will be, might be playing every day, you know what I mean? But like, they're going to have to keep guys fresh. They'll give him a day on the field, let Nicky G DH for a day or something like that. They're going to keep guys fresh. If you want IKF to be good off the bench, he's going to have to go out there and play every once in a while. And whoever he's replacing, specifically, I think if Key gets a day off, he's not going to DH. I think he's getting a day off. I think in order...
Yeah, I think most of them who get a day off are going to get a day off. They're not going to just jump to DH.
I think they'll jump. I think they'll jump a little bit. I think if it's Kutch's day off, you could let a backup. We don't want to put a backup at DH. You're going to put a backup in their position and put the starter at DH, like they did with Brian Reynolds this year. When Kutch was getting his day off, Reynolds went to DH and they played somebody else in Reynolds' spot to give Reynolds a halfway day off too. And I think they'll continue to do that. That's a smart way to do it. But Key Brian Hayes, we're worried about the back. If he gets a day off, he should get a full day off. I'm not worried about Nicky G. I'm not worried about, even Brian Reynolds in that case. Play somebody else at first and let him DH for a day. Or O'Neal Cruz. Like, I'm not worried about those guys. I'm just trying to keep them in the game more often. But, dude, I'm telling you, Joey Bart won't hit 20 home runs next year.
No.
I don't understand Kutch sucks. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that.
Bro hit 20 bombs.
Yeah, I mean he's a DH with a positive. I mean, I don't understand that at all. I'm not even convinced I'm going to see 260 with 13 homers from Joey Bart next year. I think the 13 homers is good. I think you can count on that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure you're going to see 260 from him. Kutch played hurt all year and still had an on-base percentage 6 points off, 7 points off from Bart. And in double the plate appearances, or at-bats, I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. I'm not in on that. Joey Bart's done it for 1 year. Change of scenery. No. Kutch is not $5 million for tickets. Kutch is $5 million because if McCutchen wants to come back, Bob Nutting will make sure he comes back because Bob likes him. And if McCutchen wants to play another year, he better not play it anywhere but a Pirates uniform. There are some things that speak to legacy, and man, OG jumping in. Savant. I think that is the word I was looking for. Thank you. I was a little late to pick that one up. Just saw it. But yeah, I think you nailed it. Bucko Mike says, is Dennis Santana closing next year? If he comes out and pitches like this again and you get a struggle a little bit from Bednar again, which I don't think you will, but if you do, yeah, why not? But I also want to say, like, Ryan Barucki was good last year and he wasn't this year, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Dennis Santana, like that was exciting. That's one of those guys that's like he had a great year. We'll see what he does next year on what I think of it. It's no different. I mean, I have more trust right now going forward. I have more trust in probably Colin Holderman than I do Dennis Santana. But I won't be surprised if Santana's a better pitcher next year. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. Like, I won't be surprised if he figured something out. But you also know that, like, relievers sometimes can just get on a heater and roll with it. So there's a little bit of that. I'm in for that. Like, I don't even think I was surprised that he had 20 homers this year.
Yeah.
And he'll play less, I would think. If he's healthy and he plays healthy, then I could easily see 10, 15 more and that be productive. And what he does, not just history, but like also be a leader in the clubhouse. Like, he's a big deal. He makes a difference to those guys in the clubhouse.
Thing's a big deal.
And he's not like an outspoken leader or anything like that, but like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
They're picking his brain. They're asking questions. They're all talking. That's an MVP. That's a Pirates Hall of Famer, possibly a Major League Hall of Famer. Pad some of those numbers. They're only getting better.
Yeah. Does he have any possible milestones? Yeah, I mean, he could get to 450 doubles.
Yeah, I mean, how far away is he?
He'd need 21.
Nah, I mean, at 18 this year. I don't see him get. I don't see him.
Possibility.
It's a possibility. Sure.
That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm just looking to see what he might possibly be. He might be able to get 2,200 hits.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a player who one time has been below league average. One time in his career, he's been below league average hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, listen, Santana 95, 96. It's not even the velo that makes him good. I'm telling you right now, these guys can hit 95, 96. It's movement, it's spin, it's tunneling with other pitches. It's what else you have to offer. I like 95, 96, but Barucki was good with 93. He was hurt this year, right? But not everybody's going to, and Barucki's gone too. But yeah, it says every player around Kutch in Pirates history is in the MLB Hall. Listen, I mean, we can go down that path. I'm not prepared to, but we were talking about it in the car that day, Jake, when we were in Pittsburgh this past week. He's good at so many things that, like, you can say, well, there's only 8 guys on the list who have this number, this, like doubles, hits, triples, home runs, RBIs, walks. There's only 8 guys on that list. And then you look at those 8 guys, you're like, yeah, he's got, the second least home runs of all those guys. And then you add stolen bases and 5 of them drop off. You know what I'm saying? And then you add runs, and I mean, probably not in that situation, but you might say, like, well, if you just look at these 3 stats, you're going to have guys that like have 600 and 500 home runs that are just way more than his 300 and 20. Nope. 19. You know what I mean? So they're way more than 319 home runs, but then you add the hits and they drop out, or then you add the stolen bases and they drop out, or then you add the walks and they drop out. So, like, it's the fact that he's very good in so many different things that make him, and he has an MVP. So that helps, but that's what makes him that good. You know what I mean? And at one point, for maybe a 2-year span, the only player better than him was Mike Trout. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, when you say you were the absolute best in the league, that counts too. But anyway, the year after his MVP, he led in on-base percentage, OPS plus. Like he has a couple years on both sides of his MVP season that actually rival his MVP season to be actually better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
31 homers the year before. Led the league in 194 hits, and he was third in MVP. Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, All-Star, all in that season. He was third in MVP, robbed of the MVP, really. Because the Pirates weren't good. So maybe not robbed. I mean, if your team's not valuable.
327 with 31 jacks. Sheesh.
400 on base, 553. You know what I'm saying? A 162 OPS plus. But most valuable player matters how valuable your team is. And in 2012, they weren't very valuable. He won the MVP in 2013, large in part because his team was better. And that counts in MVP. So, Mike, listen, I'm never going to argue Clemente with you. Clemente's the greatest right fielder possibly ever to play. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying Kutch is the greatest anything ever to play. I'm not acting like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, what Clemente did is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I also just don't think that players are, well, Clemente's one of the, this is a top 10, top 15 ever guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to, but how many people are in the Hall of Fame? Do we know that? Like, is that easy to find?
Probably.
How many players are in the MLB Hall of Fame? 273? So if he could be in the top 273, yeah. But maybe not top 15. As well as 40 executives, 23 managers, and 10 umpires. Oh, no, 346 elected members. Oh, but that's 273 players. Okay. 270, yeah, he's in the top 273 of all time. That's all. Or 275 by the time it's even there, right? 280
Yeah.
by the time he's even getting in. Yeah, he's there. Maybe. I don't know. He's probably French. I'm not going to lie. He's probably French. I'm convincing myself a little too much. He may not get in. He may be like a Veterans Committee guy. I get that. But he's good. And I think there's a chance. I'm not saying he has to. He's going to be in the Pirates Hall of Fame. That's all we care about around here.
Right.
But Clemente, that's different. We're talking about a number that like is retired for a team, which I don't know, 22 could be. 22 could be.
Yeah. I think it very well could be.
I think you're going to see the number retiring is maybe that's the first thing. That's going to happen. But then the question is like, you're not getting a statue unless you win a World Series.
Yeah.
Right? So, well, I mean, is that true? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are the statues? Honus Wagner, I mean, did he win a World Series? I think he did. Was he still playing when they won the World Series?
I have no idea.
He's probably won more than one.
Stargell.
I'm being dumb here.
Stargell won a World Series. Clemente.
Yeah, he won the 1909 World Series.
That's your. We only have 4, right?
Mazeroski, Clemente, Stargell, and Wagner. So yeah, they all 4 won a World Series. He's not gonna statue, but he'll get his number retired. Once again, Mike, not gonna argue with you on Clemente. Like Kutch is not Clemente.
Right.
Not many are.
Right.
Dude, my other Mike, if Hayes can get his back fixed, we're a whole different team. We have 5.
Is he counting the hands?
The Kiner hands? Waiting.
Yeah, because it's...
Waiting.
Dang it, Bobby.
World Series. Oh, 5 World Series.
Oh.
Yeah. We just mean there's only 4 statues.
4 statues, and all of the statues are guys who won World Series.
Listen, Jake said 4. 4 statues, though.
Yeah.
Did you say 4 World Series at one point? Or are you just saying all 4 of them won a World Series? But
all
Clemente
4 of
won
them
2.
won a World Series.
Clemente won 2. Stargell won 2. Was Maz there for 2, but not a starter?
You got me on that one. I'm not sure.
I think he might have been. I think he might have been on the. Yeah, he won 2.
Oh, because we were talking about World Series. I think we were talking about World Series, and then I said we only have 4. But yeah, I was definitely meaning the statues.
And he said, "Oh, ignore me. You're fine. You're fine." Yeah, that's because he was still on the team.
Yeah, I think it's Kiner's hands.
No, it is Kiner's hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we said, right? I said Kiner's hands.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he was still on the team for the 71 World Series as well as the obvious one.
Yeah.
There you go. Maz, OG saying Maz was there in 71. Looks like he was there till 72, but not a starter, right? He only played in 70 games that year. So. Hey, Bucko Mike, let's talk about that. Wait, then you don't need to win a World Series for a statue. But Ralph doesn't even have his face on his statue. So you have to have, in order to have your face, you gotta win a World Series.
In order to have a full-blown, full-body statue.
Bucko Mike's gonna be the 5th statue. Oh wait, I'm still recording the audio. I could stop that. Anyway. Yeah, no, this is it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not happy about baseball being over. Kutch only gets his dreads unless he gets a ring.
I like it.
Kutch's statue or just his 2013 area. Look, both OG and Michael said the same thing in a different way. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't know how you do the dreads without doing the face, but I'm open for creativity. He doesn't need a statue.
Right.
I think that's fair. He doesn't get a statue. Retire the number. There's other numbers retired there who don't have statues.
He's going to have his little thing on the wall.
Yep. He'll be in the Pirates Hall of Fame. He'll have his number retired. We'll tell the story. So. Yeah. Man, anyway, I'm pretty bummed out. I will tune in a lot to the postseason. You guys watch that? Are you guys, I want to know just from the, 70 or so of you that are still in here, do you care about baseball after the Pirates are done? Yeah, Mike, I'm totally with you here. Cobra needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Just no question. Silly. There's a few people that aren't in that really should be. And that's, I think that's the nature of it. It depends on if you're a small hall guy. And I think if you're not, then Kutch is in.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you care about the postseason? Like, do you watch? I always like to, because I like to get a pulse. Like, I like to, I do throughout the season, right? I'll watch another game or several other games, maybe even pay attention to like a team for a week where I say like, I just want to see like these guys are going good right now. What's it look like? Is it that much different than what? Because sometimes you can be fooled if you're only watching the Pirates into two things, right? You can be fooled into saying like, man, this team's legit. And then you watch another team and you're like, maybe we're not. Like these guys have some dudes. And then you know what I mean? But then at the same time, you also can watch the Pirates play poorly and then watch another good team and say, well, geez, these guys. I mean, we just saw Soto do something dumb on the base paths, right? And I watched the Yankees for a little bit. I'll go and I'll listen to like Yankees podcasts. I mean, that's pretty easy. Talking Yanks from John Boy. I like a lot of the stuff John Boy does. I'm already familiar with the people, so I'll watch that. But then there's a couple other ones that I'll pay attention to, and like they continually say like this team's really good because they have two guys who are two of the best in the league, right? That are just absolute studs in Soto and Judge. And Judge is a good player all around. He probably shouldn't be in center, but he even does that well. But like Soto does, he's not great defensively. He makes silly plays in the outfield. He doesn't run the bases well. And the Yankees as a whole don't run the bases well. They do things like what we've seen from Cruz this year. And we're like, man, Cruz is just, you're never going to be a good player. And I'm like, there's good players who do that. And you don't notice those things until you watch good players play more often instead of just watching their highlights and then say like, oh, okay. So I guess that's not so terrible.
Yeah. I think it's interesting looking at the different lineups around the league and realizing how many guys or how many of these good teams that are making the playoffs, they'll have somebody in the lineup that's batting 189.
Yeah.
But it's just everyone else around them's a lot better, and you can kind of hide it because that dude's a stud on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you're like,
don't have the luxury of accepting a 189 hitter because we can't absorb that. Our lineup can't absorb it.
Yeah. OG says he likes to root for the underdogs in the postseason so long as he doesn't already hate that team. And then he says he'll root for his dad's Guardians. So I have a lot of, being in Central Ohio, I've got a lot of Reds and Guardians fans. So I've got a lot of friends who I care about, who care about the Guardians. So I usually pay attention to them. I'll watch them. I also think that they're a market and a team that is very similar to Pittsburgh. And so I want them to do well because it shows that there is a path for the Pirates to do well. And if there's a path for teams like that to win a World Series, then it gives Nutting no excuse. You know what I'm saying? Where you can say like, listen, as much as we want whatever, there's no excuse. Like this is possible. And now you've got Kansas City in there. You've got Cleveland in there. And there's one other team I thought I had the whole postseason. Some say San Diego's there. I find that hard to believe, but But anyway, I mean, like, the Brewers, duh. And you've got the Brewers. So, like, when you're looking at those teams and you're saying, like, these guys do things like the Pirates could be doing them. You know what I mean? So I kind of root for those teams a little bit. It's hard for me to root for the Brewers, but the further we get away from those years of Ryan Braun specifically, but Ryan Braun and Ricky Weeks and those guys, Carlos Gomez, not Ricky Weeks, Carlos Gomez. Those years of Ryan Braun and Carlos Gomez, like I just couldn't stand those guys. Yeah. And so I just, and plus we couldn't beat the Brewers back then, which ticked me off. So I've always hated the Brewers for that reason. Now, we didn't used to when we were kids.
Well, they were in the American League when we were kids.
Well, but also Phil Garner was there. We used to go up to Cleveland to watch Phil Garner, you know what I mean? Because our aunt and our older brother, they know Phil. And so we would tag along and we'd go to these games and sitting right behind home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go to Jacobs Field when it was Jacobs Field. Still is Jacobs Field for me. Remember that one? Remember that? I remember going to a game one time. It was Brewers, Cleveland, Indians, and Julio Franco hit the walk-off home run. And we're walking around the stadium, and everybody's just Julio. I just remember that. That was one that stuck in my head. And
Julio Franco,
JP's favorite player. Yeah, you did when you were in the Dominican. Yeah. JP's favorite player was always Fernando Vina. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
You remember we were sitting in there the one year. I don't remember. I was very young at this point, but I remember a lady asked our older brother JP, "Is like, how did you guys end up with these tickets?" And he was telling him about the Phil situation. She goes, "Oh yeah, right? That guy's my son. I mean, it was Jeremy Burnett's, but it was just funny because we were like, oh, we're hanging out he got his family section tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mike, dude, you're dead on here. Pirates don't have a Ramirez. That dude's a stud.
Yeah.
That dude's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that Ramirez doesn't like attention. So we can say like he likes the Guards franchise, and that's true. But I think he also is like, I really want to be in a small market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's like, I don't want the attention. I want to cruise control under the radar, and I'm just going to be one of the best third basemen in baseball for 5-6 years. You know what I mean? Like, he's a stud.
Yeah.
But also they opened up that thing, and now he can hit a ton more homers. It's ridiculous. He's 1 homer from 40. Has he ever done that? Take a guess at what his previous best year was home run wise.
I mean, I'm thinking 42.
You think he's all... No, he's never hit 40.
No?
No, he was... Well, I guess he got close to 40 one other year, too. He had 39 one other year. I didn't realize that. 36 and 21.
Stud, man.
Yeah, he's a stud. But most of the time he's in the upper... Like, he's just not going to have... He had the 1 year he was injured. But other than that, like, he's Brian Reynolds home run numbers, but like 1 million doubles. You know what I mean? Like, leads the league in doubles. He had 56 doubles 1 year. He had 44 another year and led the league. 39 again this year. And then on top of that, he goes ahead and steals 41 bags too. Like, this is another, like, this, he's just a dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, all around dude.
And he's a little guy. He's like 5'10", isn't he?
5'9".
5'9".
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good. I like watching him. He's one of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
Really is. Without question. I've always been high on him. Yeah. Close to a 40, 40, 40. 39, 39, 41. It's wild. Wild.
That is crazy.
I was surprised to find out just now that he hit 39 homers another year and then 36 another year. And that's what I'm saying. Like, for so long, he's just been under the radar and underrated. I think he's a little less underrated now, only because how many years in a row can you be on a show on MLB Network about who's the most underrated player? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many years in a row can you still be? You're rating him every year. Like, you're talking about him every year. So it's kind of like, you're starting to become not underrated anymore. I think people know who you are.
Yeah.
You've been doing this long enough. They're paying attention.
They should.
Yeah, they should. I guess you could still say underrated from like the casual fan. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think that, for the most part, you're doing pretty well. That's awesome. OG says he remembers going to the municipal stadium with his dad in its final year. I don't think I ever went there. I don't think I ever went up there until it was Jacobs Field. That's cool. We went up to Yankee Stadium in its last year, the old Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. What? Angels.
What's that?
We watched the Angels.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yankees, Angels.
Yeah. That was fun. Just like a day trip. We drove up there, slept a little bit on the outside of the stadium. Dead tired. It was all right. It was a dump, which stinks because there's like so much history. I was like, I just want to walk around the stadium. And they're like, well, you can't. You're in the bleacher section. You can't get anywhere else. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to walk around the concourse. No, you don't. You didn't buy a ticket to go to the concourse. You bought a ticket for the bleachers. And it's just you go down in the tunnel and it's just like closed off. You're like, you can't go that way. Like, are you kidding me? No, you're a peasant. You're a peasant.
It's a brick wall. It was insane.
They're not even connected. You're a peasant. You don't get to go over there. You bleachers peasant. Come on, New York. Be better than that. Well, I think they probably are now, right? You can probably walk around it now.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure of it.
You can now.
Yeah, the only thing Jose Ramirez hasn't done is 200 hits in a season. He's probably gotten close, right? 186. Yeah, 186 is his highest. Still, man. I mean, it's just different. And he's a switch hitter too.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. So, yeah. That's awesome, man. Anyway, let's take a look at it so we don't have to go over this on another show. Just a YouTube exclusive here, video exclusive here. Detroit. Well, let me see. We got this, right? We can do this. Who you got in that first one? Let's do a pick right now.
Oh, Houston.
Yeah, me too. It's not even close. 5-4, KC, Baltimore.
That's going to be a battle, man. I'm not even 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore has been playing well lately, but neither is KC. I'll go Baltimore here.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
It is.
It doesn't matter. I got the
KC
Yankees beating whoever it is.
Same, and I got the Guardians beaten.
Yeah, I got the Guardians moving on too. Yankees, Guardians. Man, I don't actually know, man. It could be Baltimore could beat the Yankees. If they click enough to win, I think they can keep winning.
I don't know if the Yankees really have. I don't know if the Yankees have the pitching.
I don't know, man. Garrett Cole. This is probably the best pitching the Yankees have had going into a postseason in a long time. In a long time.
Yeah, but
decades.
I think if Kansas City makes it past Baltimore, the Yankees beat Kansas City. But if Baltimore makes it through, I think Baltimore beats New York.
Yeah, I'll go New York, and then I'll go. Man, I think I'm going to go Cleveland making it to the World Series. That's hard to do, though. I don't know. Maybe it's Houston. I'm going to root for Cleveland to make it to the World
Houston's
Series.
Clicking right now, man. They're pitching.
I know. All right, I'm going to root for Cleveland, but I think I could go any of those three teams: Houston, Cleveland,
I'm
or
terrible
Yankees.
At picking this stuff.
Oh, me too. I'm
horrible at it.
Dodgers on the other side. Maybe they beat the Brewers somehow. Beat Philly. Yeah. Let's do a Dodgers Cleveland World Series. I just think that'd be fun for like the David versus Goliath type thing.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers have to be Goliath. Like they're the most money. They've got Ohtani. They've got 3 MVPs on their team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to have on the mound, but.
Well, Kershaw should be back, right?
Does that matter?
Then you got postseason Kershaw, right?
Yeah, and an older one.
Yeah, but he was dealing when he first come back this year.
I think this could be fun. Dodgers, Yanks, Dodgers in 7. I'll be honest with you, though. I mean, I could get into a Dodgers-Yanks World Series. It's historic. It's the 2 powerhouses. I could get into that.
Yeah.
I also could really get into like the underdog. I just don't want it to be like Cleveland and Milwaukee. I don't want that. If a team like Milwaukee or Cleveland makes it, they got to be up against the Yankees or the Dodgers. If you get Cleveland and Milwaukee in there, man, I don't like that.
You know what I'll hate to see? Yankees, Phillies, or the Yankees in San Diego.
Hold on.
That's too many pinstripes.
Never mind. I got 2 calls from Katie. We probably wrap this up so I can answer that.
Yeah.
This is 2 hours, guys. This is an extra hour.
You keep Reynolds in left 1 more year and give Goldschmidt 1 year 17.
That's a good question, but Goldschmidt kind of stinks right now.
He's definitely not going to hit for power at PNC. That's an interesting thought, though. I mean, I love Goldschmidt. I like Goldschmidt a lot.
Yeah.
It's an aging Goldschmidt you're getting, not. I don't know. It's interesting.
1.3 WAR, 22 homers, 245, a 97 OPS plus. Yeah, I don't know. That's the wrong one. I got it somewhere here. There we are. Ron says underdogs, Detroit Brewers, Tigers in 7. So
Detroit, Milwaukee, Detroit in 7.
Right, yeah. That's kind of interesting too. Detroit's not necessarily. Are they considered a small market? Probably. Detroit's not a small city, really, but I bet the money's not quite there the way it could be. Reynolds and Wright, get a better left fielder if you're picking up a new first baseman. Yeah, I like that too. I think either way, you got to go after a left fielder. That's what I was saying earlier. I think you got to go after a left fielder. Period. That's my thing. I think there's left fielders out there, whether it's trades or free agency. I mean, free agency, you could say like if you go get like O'Neal or you go get like Teoscar, or you know what I mean, somebody who's going to be an impact guy who will hit some homers, who will, you know what I mean, or you trade for somebody. But either way, you get a left fielder who can handle defense, at least league average, and or
Teoscar league average. Teoscar,
but
stinks.
I was just say, and or you're going to get a clutch, important hitter in your lineup.
Yeah.
And Teoscar is a guy like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I think that either way, left field's got to be picked up. And then for me, Reynolds either lands in right field if you can get a first baseman, or he lands at first base if you can't. I don't think you go after a right fielder because you already have a fall plan. You know what I'm saying? In BDLC and Jack Sawinski. And like I said, you can just have a quick hook with them guys and make a move on a trade, but you can give them a chance because you know if you're the GM, you know you have a budget, and you know that's an easier way to stay under budget is to be at budget and spend a little more on that left fielder and your bullpen guys and possibly a starter if you want to be able to move starters in order to get somebody for left field or first base, if that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like if you want to make a trade for one. So like I think left field is a must. And then I think the Reynolds decision is based around, for Reynolds, he will move to first if it helps the team. It doesn't help the team if you have a hole also in the outfield. You know what I mean? You might as well just keep him in the outfield. So you have to fill the hole in the outfield before you ever move him. And then you move him to right field unless you can't get a first baseman and we say, bro, we need a first baseman. We got to move you. Because what we have out of BDLC and Jack Sawinski is what we have at first base. That's your difference. Whoever you get for first has to be better than what those two could be. You know?
Yeah.
So
I love this. Right? You know, the Goldie. We'll bring people in who do well at PNC, but they're also hitting against the Pirates pitching. So like I loved the Adam LaRoche. I thought we finally got a first baseman who's going to dominate at PNC because he was so good at PNC, and he stunk.
He stunk?
Like he stunk for us.
No, I would have kept
Adam LaRoche.
Yeah, dude. Andy LaRoche stunk. Adam LaRoche did fine.
He didn't put up his normal numbers. I don't remember him being good.
His 2008.
I remember everybody being mad at him.
He had 21 homers his first year here, 25 his second year, and then we traded him after he already had 12 homers. He was a 122 OPS plus guy in 2008 and a 109 in 2007, which was better than anything we've ever had there. He had 2 pretty good years. So Jim missed the first 2 hours of this. Yeah, we stopped our audio and just said, we're going to hang out for a little bit. And here an hour plus later, we're still on.
Let's hang out for another 20 minutes.
Yeah, we've just been answering questions. We've been talking about the postseason. We've been talking about a ton of stuff. Just YouTube only. You can only get this on YouTube. But thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, we were thinking we were getting 32 homer guy, though. We got 21, 25.
Oh, because he hit 32 in Atlanta the year before that.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. That makes sense. He never.
It is
Well,
a
I guess he
it is
did
a
get
little
back to
better.
that in
It is a
Washington.
little better than I remembered.
That's what I was gonna say. Like he was like
But
he was a
I
good
always-
first baseman. I thought he was, according to the other first basemen that we had in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah,
07 and
for
08,
sure.
Adam LaRoche was like, yeah, he could be here for a while. And then they just didn't. And then, I mean, let's just look. What did you have in, so 09, you had a little bit of him. So he was still the guy like that played first base the most. And then you went to Garrett Jones. You got another 21 homers. I guess probably did okay at first base after that. If Garrett Jones was, I don't think those are all at first base though. That was a lot of right field too.
And like Randall Simon.
112 games Garrett Jones played at first. Jeff Clement, Steve Pierce. So like nobody else played first, but like Garrett Jones. And then in 2011, it was Overbay. Oh my gosh.
That was one that frustrated me too, because I actually liked that pickup, and he was terrible. He's a doubles machine, and he was not that for us.
Yeah, he was not that for us. Huh. We always think we're getting 32 homer guys only to get 2 or 3. We were close this year, man. We were close to having our 4 guys with 20 homers. It does not count. Jake's trying to count it.
I count it.
It does not count.
Fair.
Jeff Clement was great, though. Casey McGee was the first baseman in 2012, at least the most often. Then Gabby Sanchez, which, whatever, still not Adam LaRoche numbers or Garrett Jones numbers. Ike Davis. Oh, my gosh. Like, first base is just so bad for this team.
Yeah, we did that stint with John Jaso, though. That was nice.
Just not. I mean, Petey 27 that year, but that was still like just a frustrating year with the errors and wasn't also good at first base. But yeah, then John Jaso. Like just a bad position. Adam LaRoche was not. Oh, see, look at that. He got off to a rough start and then, yeah. Yeah, Jim says you can't count that. If you look it up, he has 3 home runs this year. For the Pirates. The Pirates did not have 4 20 homer guys. They could have if they would have just signed Carlos Santana instead of Rowdy Tellez.
What a difference that would have been.
Well, we should.
You can't just plug it in, bud.
Huh?
I said you just can't just plug his numbers in.
You can kind of. Yeah, see Rosati's saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look this up.
Thought you had to take a phone call from Katie.
I should. So if he played all of his games in Minnesota, he would have had 20. He had 22. He would have had 20 if he'd have played every game in Minnesota. 21 at PNC. So yeah, maybe would have helped a little bit. I always love looking at this and then going to the Reds line. 28. Or for lefties, I like to look at the Yankees line. 25. Phillies, that's another one too. 27. 27 in Milwaukee. Like, come on, man. Pirates are always the lowest on this list. Depending on, like, what you are. Like, if you're a lefty, you can do okay. Righties are hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with, like, righty and lefty pitchers. It's like, if you pitched every game at PNC as a lefty, your numbers are going to look better.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should get off here. You're right, because I have gotten a couple calls here, so... and she expects me to be done, so...
Yeah. I got a couple texts, too.
All right. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us a little bit extra. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. The YouTube video is a long one this week.
End of the season party.
End of the season. It sucks the
Thanks for the
baseball's
idea,
over.
Ron.
Yeah, Ron was like, "What's the hurry?" So we stuck around. But yeah, appreciate you sticking around. It's been a lot of fun. Sucks that this thing's over, but it also, we weren't good. So I'll watch some baseball, and then we'll get ready for next year. And like I said, tense off season. The rebuild is over. Yeah, dude, we are gonna be in Bradenton. At least I'm planning on it.
I mean, I'd like to. So
We will. We'll look.
How it pans out.
It might be. I think it might be like the week of my birthday, or the week after that. I was kind of looking at the games, so maybe like the week of March 3rd. I just gave my birthday away. We don't need to do that. The week of March 3rd or the week of March 10th. But I don't know. We definitely want to be there longer than we were last year.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I'm at least bringing.
Make it.
I'm at least bringing Katie.
Make it for a whole week, but I'm going to try to get down there for.
We
days,
will.
At least.
I think we're planning on a whole week. Mm-hmm. So. OG will be there February, the week before the games start. So. Yeah, maybe we'll see some people down there, but we will plan on that, and we'll talk about it. Oh, there's the Pirates-Yankees highlights. Lost 6-4. Fun. All right. We're out of here for real.
Here, guys. Yep.
Let's go Bucks.
Signing off. Let's go Bucks.